All right, so we are moving on to session 2 for lesson 13. We're still going to deal with some of the basics of fractions, finding common denominators, and seeing how that applies with subtracting our fractions. And we can get started with that for today with this warm-up. So for our warm-up for today, we're given two fractions, 2/5 and 1/2. And we want to create some equivalent fractions with the same common denominator. And again, with these fractions, the easiest way to find your common denominator is to take those two numbers, in this case 5 and 2, and we multiply them together, which gives us 10. So how we do that is we take the common denominator and we can already just use that at the bottom for our equivalent fraction, which means we only have to figure out what's on the top. And we find that by seeing, in this case, like 5 times 2 gave us that 10, and 2 times 2 gives us a 4. So 2/5 equals 4/10. 2 times 5 gave us a 10, and 1 times 5 will give us that 5. So 1/2 is equal to 5/10. So again, we'll go over a few other ways to find the common denominator, usually listing out your multiples and finding the smallest common multiple, but you're also always guaranteed to have a common denominator that works by just multiplying those two bottom numbers. All right, so for today, turn in your book to page 253 to get started with our notes. And you should see a water bottle at the top of that page there. So here's the scenario. Gavin has 2/3 pint of water left in his water bottle. He drinks half pint. How much water is left in the bottle now? I'm going to show you a couple different ways. We'll talk about the way we did it with the warm-up. We can just take those two bottom numbers, and 3 times 2 gives us a common denominator of 6. Or you can take the multiples of 2. So 2 times 1 is 2, times 2 is 4, times 3 is 6, times 4 is 8. Multiples of 3, that's 3, 6, 9, 12. And we can see this way as well, that just kind of confirms that 6 is our common denominator. All right, so what we want to do now is let's take that 2/3, and we want to create that equivalent fraction. So 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4. And let's take 1/2. I know 2 times 3 is 6, 1 times 3 is 3. So since we are, again, if you're drinking water out of something, you're basically doing math, you're subtracting. So if you started with 4/6 pints of water, you drank 3/6, you were left with 1/6 pint left in your water bottle. All right, pretty straightforward. Now these next two pages, these are basically just showing us how they illustrated it. You can see here on the left that 2/3 was 4/6, 1/2 is 3/6. And this gives you over here, the bottom right, like a visual of how things were taken away, not unlike using models for some of the earlier questions. You can also do a number line. So for this number line, each one of these lines represents a 6. So I'll just fill in the rest here. Okay, 1 is 6/6, and 0 is 0/6. So again, if you have 4/6 and you subtract 3/6, you will land here on 1/6. So number lines are useful. They might be a little more time consuming to do it though, but I do want to show you all the different techniques in finding those answers. All right, so our notes here on page 255. So we are looking at the picture and model it from the previous page, and they want to know, why is 2/3 rewritten as 4/6? Why is 1/2 rewritten as 3/6? So here's your answer. because thirds, which are, in this case, it's 2/3, and halves, which is the 1/2, are different sized parts. What I mean by that is, even if you looked at a measuring cup and filling it full of water, there's be a 2/3 mark and a 1/2 mark. They're different sizes. They're different. We're comparing different things. So we create them as 6, so they are all the different parts of the whole. Why is 6 chosen as common denominator? Because 6 is a multiple of 2 and 3. Simple as that. Use 6 as a common denominator. Write the equation to show the difference of 2/3 and 1/2. We've already did that with previous couple pages ago, but let's show it. 4/6 minus 3/6 equals 1/6. How much water is left in the bottle? 1/6 pint. Could you have subtracted with a different common denominator? And this is important. The answer is yes. You could use any multiple, any common multiple, excuse me. Common multiple that should be multiple of 2 and 3. And in parentheses, I'll just put a quick example. Like 4/6 could have been 8/12, and that meant 3/6 could have been 6/12. So 12 is a common multiple of 2 and 3. And that would have given us an answer of 2/12, which you might already know you can reduce that to 1/6. So you get the same answer. Explain how to subtract two fractions with unlike denominators. First step is find a common denominator. And make equivalent fractions. Again, stuff we've been doing, gosh, for the past month. Equivalent fractions. All right. So that is just your basic how-to with both adding and subtracting fractions, by the way. It all applies. All right. This next one, yeah, we'll skip this one. All right, let's actually do some problems here, see, make sure that we understand it. So this is a great example. I could take 8 times 6 and get 48. That could be my common denominator. However, this is why sometimes it's maybe better to do the multiples, because you can get smaller numbers to work with, and that means you're going to get an answer that's in its most reduced form. But let's look at multiples of 6. I've got 6, 12, 18, 24. Let's look at multiples of 8. I've got 8, 16, 24, and I can stop right there because I've got these. I could continue with my multiples and eventually do, 6 times 8 would have given me a multiple 48, and 8 times 6 would have given me 48. But look at the fact that 24 is smaller. All right, so let's make equivalent fractions. 7/8, and I'll put that common denominator at the bottom already. 8 times 3 is 24. 7 times 3 is 21. Let's look at 1/6. And 6 times 4 is 24. 1 times 4 is 24. So 21 24ths minus 4 24ths equals 21 24ths. There's your answer. Oh, I meant 17. 17/24. Too bad I can't do video editing on the fly. That's 17. Some of you probably already caught that seconds as you saw this. Okay, 17/24. But if we had just used 48 as our common denominator, we would have got an answer of 34/48. But this one is its most reduced form. Next question. Emily's shelf is 3/4 foot wide. Her clock is 2/3 foot wide. How much wider is her shelf than her clock? Show your work. This one, we could do the 4 times 3 and give us a 12 as a common denominator. So let's change that. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. 2/3 because they're 12. 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 4 is 8. Let's do 9/12 minus 8/12 equals 1/12. 1/12 of a foot larger. So basically 1 inch larger because there's 12 inches in 1 foot. Last question. And this one is going to be pretty simple because if I look at this, I've got my 10. I know I could probably just keep that common denominator instead of doing multiples of 5, multiples of 10, because multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15. Multiples of 10 are 10, 20, and so on and so forth. So if you end up with one of your multiples being just the first thing that it is, you kind of keep that one. So 9/10 just stays how it is. You leave that alone. 3/5 is the one we have to change with a 10th at the bottom here. 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times 2 is 6. So 9/10 minus 6/10 equals 3/10. All right. So your homework, we will be returned to IXL. And again, you're working to that bronze medal, which triggers at 70%. You will be doing L9, subtract fractions with unlike denominators using models. You can use the models to solve it or simply answer the questions on a separate piece of paper.